And it states, وَأَطَاعَ الرَّجُلُ إِمْرَأَتَهُ وَعَقَّ عُمَّهُ وَقَرَّبَ صَدِيقَهُ وَأَقْسَ أَبَاهُ وَصَارَتِ الْإِمَارَاتُ مَوَارِيث وَسَبَّ آخِرُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ أَوَّلَهَا وَأُكْرِمَ الرَّجُلُ اتِّقَاءَ شَرِّهِ وَكَثُرَتِ الشُّرُطُ. Which means that a man will obey his wife and disobey his mother. It's very common. Very, very common. I do not want to get into family politics, but the point is that people should treat their mother good. Bring his friend close and distance his father. Leadership will become inheritance. So one leader will die. Look at the corrupt Bhutto family. The dad died, the daughter came in power. The daughter died, now they want to make the son of the daughter a leader. It's inheritance. Since when have Muslim nations become something for leaders to take at will and eat from the wealth of Muslims? Or other countries like the Saudi family, who have a monopoly over Muslim wealth. Leadership will become inheritance. The last of this nation will curse the first. Meaning, the Rawafid. They will curse the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A man will be respected out of fear of his evil. Like wannabe gangsters today, or thugs. They are only feared because of their evil. Real respect you should not have for a person of such manners. Your ulama will incline to your leaders, which وَكَثُرَتِ شُرُطُ. So I left out some of this hadith. Why? I mentioned to the next part, because the part has already been mentioned and it is repetitive. But it mentions further down that وَرَكَنَ عُلَمَاؤُكُمْ إِلَى وُلَاتِكُمْ. Your ulama will incline to your leaders. فَأَحَلُّوا لَهُمُ الْحَرَامِ. They will permit the forbidden. وَحَرَّمُوا عَلَيْهِمُ الْحَلَالِ. And they will forbid the permitted. For instance, in some countries, they forbid second marriages. It is halal for a man to marry a second wife. But in certain Muslim countries, they have forbidden this and made it haram. Or for instance, in other Muslim countries, actions which are impermissible, like prostitution, in those same countries, they will make prostitution legal. For instance, when we were in Damascus, I had heard from the people that it is illegal for a man to take a second wife on paper. They will turn a blind eye to it if it was not on paper, like this country. But they had a red light area near the Halboni district, a cinema for pornography near the Islamic bookshops. And they had nightclubs also in Damascus. When I would walk in Fajr time, from the area of Sheikh Muhyiddin to Jami' al-Amawi, sometimes I would walk the whole distance, many miles. I would pass through one road, which I did not know was a red light area. Later on, when I became familiar with the country, I realized this area is not good, so I'll go around. But the reason why I thought it was normal is because of the country. I did not expect for such things to happen. وَأَفْتَوْهُمْ بِمَا يَشْتَهُونَ. They will give verdicts on behalf of the leaders in accordance with what they desire. وَتَعَلَّمَ عُلَمَاؤُكُمْ الْعِلْمَ لِيَجْلِبُوا بِهِ دَنَانِيرَكُمْ وَدَرَاهِمَكُمْ. Your ulama will learn to attain your wealth. So, darahim and dananir, your silver coins and your gold coins, meaning wealth. So they will learn knowledge in order to take money from you. We all know stories of corrupt, what we call corrupt Maulvis. وَاتَّخَذْتُمُ الْقُرْآنَ تِجَارَةً. You will take the Qur'an as a trade. So today you have people charging high prices for Qur'an. So you'll have a qari, a muqri of the Qur'an, who can recite with tajweed, but he will charge highly to teach a child, for instance, £20 an hour. We have people charging those rates in Birmingham. We have people charging high extortional rates. Not only in Birmingham, I just use Birmingham as my home city as an example. But I've heard for instance, in Egypt you have clean-shaven qurra, someone will come and recite Qur'an to them, and they will then charge them money. وَضَيَّعْتُمْ حَقَّ اللَّهِ فِي أَمْوَالِكُمْ. You will do away with the right of Allah with your wealth, and your wealth will be the worst of you. وَصَارَتْ أَمْوَالُكُمْ عِنْدَ شِرَارِكُمْ, meaning with the worst of you. The wealthy people will be the worst of you. And here we have a Saudi oil businessman who has a monopoly over some of the oil fields of the Muslim world, and that wealth has been misused. Now this hadith is in al-Jami' al-Tirmidhi, which states, if your leaders are the best of you and your rich are the forbearing, the wording is salaha'ukum, forbearing, meaning the most generous of you. So your leaders are the best of you, and your richest people are the most generous, and your affairs are consultation, wa umurukum shura, that your affairs are consultation. Whenever anything comes out, you sit down and consult that thing, then the top of the earth is better for you than the inside, meaning it is better to be alive than to be dead. This is the cure for the nation. The Messenger ﷺ is giving us the cure, that your leaders should be the best of you, the rich people should be forbearing and good, and whenever anything happens within this nation, we should have consultation on those matters. In such a case, we'll have leaders like this, who Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi rahimahullah. So this is the grave of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi rahimahullah, this one on the right. This later one was built by the French in honor of Sultan Salahuddin. So even the kuffar disbelievers acknowledged someone like Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi rahimahullah. And let me point out, I and you have the same aqidah as Sultan Salahuddin.
Subhanallah! Takbir! Allah!
Okay, the reason why I placed this here is because the splitting of the moon is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment. اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر, that the hour approaches and the moon has been split. And this is one of the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa that the moon was split by him, literally speaking.
Subhanallah.
Now the conspiracy theorists, a segment of them believe in the moon matrix, where they believe the moon is a satellite and an alien civilization has built that satellite, and that satellite beams down certain radiation or radioactive waves or electromagnetic waves which change our thought pattern and our moods. But for them to reject that our Messenger ﷺ split the moon is arrogance. Because if they can believe in something ridiculous, this is not ridiculous.
Subhanallah.
This is something what we call a miracle at the hands of Rasulullah ﷺ, which took place literally. Now if someone asked, if it took place, why did not all the nations of the world witness this? Firstly, I would like to say that this miracle took place in the night. And when it took place in the night, half the globe is in darkness and the other half is in light. So that cancels out half the globe. Then the part of the globe that was in darkness, not in all of the parts, the segments of the globe, the moon can be sighted. Only in segments can the moon be sighted. So that cancels out other parts. Thirdly, what do most people do at night? They go to sleep. So that cancels out many other people who were sleeping when this took place. Fourthly, the world population was less than it is today. So that cancels out the concept of having millions and millions of people on the globe. Fifthly, even those who are awake are inside of their homes. What do people do? Do they stay out on the roads in the night? Most people stay inside. So most people are inside of their homes. Sixthly, even those who are outside, most of them do not look up. So even if it is happening and the moon is visible, because it only happened for a while, it did not go on for long. It happened for a while, the disbelievers saw that the moon was split in two between the mountains, one side on one and one side on the other. And then the Messenger ﷺ had it joined again. And this took place only for a while. So even those who were awake and outside, they would not have witnessed it. Seventhly, there were caravans of disbelievers coming from Syria toward Western Arabia, and they witnessed this and they bore witness to this to the non-Muslims the next day. So this miracle is something which took place and is one of the signs of the end of times, which is mentioned in al-Quran al-Kareem. Now, this is regarding mountains being removed from the place. أن تزول الجبال من أماكنها من أشراط الساعة أن تزول الجبال من أماكنها. That mountains will move from their place. And indeed, in our times, we have witnessed that mountains have moved. In this hadith, it states, a time shall come upon people in which prayers will be done away with. This sign has been already mentioned, abdur-razzaq. And the umara, the leaders, yudi'un as-salah. And buildings will be high. Buildings will be high. Oaths and mutual cursing will be rampant, meaning oaths where people, on every little thing, they take an oath by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or by something else. This is haram. Because if you take an oath on something and you do not fulfill that oath, you have to give kafaratul yameen, which is expiation of that oath. And it's a sin if you do not fulfill that oath. Mutual cursing will be rampant. This needs no explanation. The hereafter will be sold for the world. This needs no explanation. When you see that, then safety, safety. An-najah, an-najah. The companion said, an-najah, an-najah. And he said, it was said to him, how is salvation attained? How do you attain salvation? To the companion, he said, be a cloth from the cloths of your house and restrain your tongue. This means, kun hilsan min ahlasi baytik. What does hils mean? Hils is a cloth which people would place on the seats that they would sit on. And because a cloth doesn't move from the house, it stays where it is, on the seat. So the companion is saying, stay at home and restrain your tongue. Meaning, do not involve yourself with these people. And restrain your tongue. This is the advice of the companion. But the point here is, the companion, this hadith is marfu'. Because when a companion narrates something which can only be known by the unseen, then it is given the hukam, the ruling of being from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this, the warning here is buildings will be high. Now, this narration states that Abdullah al-Rumi is from Atba' Tabi'in. He said, I visited Talaq radiallahu anha and said, how tall is the roof of your house? Because the roof of the house was very high. She said, my son, the leader of the believers, who Amir al-Mu'mineen. Who is Amir al-Mu'mineen here? Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Wrote to his deputies, do not raise your buildings, as it will be the most evil of your days. And this is narrated by Imam al-Bukhari in al-Adab al-Mufrad. And the narration is, another narration, this one is more amazing. It states from Yusuf bin Mahik, قال كنت جالسا مع عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص. He states, I was sitting with Abdullah bin Amr ibn al-As في ناحية المسجد الحرام, on one part of al-Masjid al-Haram. Al-Masjid al-Haram is the Masjid of Makkah al-Mukarramah. And he states, إذ نظر إلى بيت مشرف على أبي قبيس. in an area of the sanctified Masjid in Makkah, he looked at a house built upon Abi Qubais. Do you know the masjid, the mountain of Abi Qubais? The mountain of Abi Qubais is the mountain which is on the side of Safa mountain. Safa mountain is where we perform the running between Safa and Marwa. Behind Safa mountain is a huge mountain known as Jabal Abi Qubais. On top of this mountain today is a palace which was built by Malik Khalid, King Khalid. On this mountain, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam split the moon in two. Subhanallah. So I mentioned the splitting of the moon in two. We are moving on to this. So Sayyiduna Abdullah bin Amr ibn al-As saw a house high on the mountain. And he said, "Abaytun dhaka, is that a house?" فَقُلْتُ نَعَمْ. He said, yes. فَقَالَ إِذَا رَأَيْتَ بِيُوتَهَا قَدْ عَلَتْ أَخْشَبِيَّتَهَا وَفَجَرَتْ بَطُونُهَا أَنْهَارًا فَقَدْ أَزِفَ الْأَمْرِ. Which means, when you see it, meaning Makkah al-Mukarramah, house has gone higher than its solid mountains, أَخْشَبِيَّتَهَا, which means solid mountain, and its depths give out water, then the matter has approached. Which matter? Meaning Qiyamah has come close. Because the mountains, buildings will be built on top of the mountains, solid mountains, and water will sprout out from the depths of Makkah. Today, if you go into Makkah al-Mukarramah, you can get water from there's sources of water everywhere in Makkah al-Mukarramah. This next hadith, he states, كنت آخذا بلجام دابة عبد الله بن عمرو. He states that I was holding the rein of the horse of Abdullah bin Amr radiallahu anhu. فقال إذا رأيت مكة قد بعجت قضائم ورأيت البناء يعلو رؤوس الجبال فاعلم أن الأمر قد أظلك. Which means, when you see Mecca being dug for piping, for what? For piping. The wording here, بعجت قضائم. In Ibn al-Akhir, he mentions that piping, Mecca is dug for piping. That people will dig Mecca and it will be dug. It states, حُفِرَتْ قَنَوَاتٍ. Qanawat is piping. That people will dig in Mecca al-Mukarramah for piping. And Ibn al-Athir mentions this, and Ibn al-Manzur, who are both linguists. And he states, the buildings reach the tops of the mountains, they know the matter is overshadowing you. Meaning the day of judgment is approaching. And this is Mecca al-Mukarramah today. This is Mecca al-Mukarramah today. And we know the projects that they have in mind. This is an actual size. If you do tawaf of al-Kaaba, you see this clock. It has its use in the sense that you can tell the time, but that can be done with the wristwatch. There's no need to build a building like this. And this is Jabal Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu project. Now, here stood mountains. These mountains were cut away in 2009. I witnessed that myself. This was a mountain named after Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. The project is called the project of Jabal Umar. Now, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu will not be happy to have this project named after him. And this is what they aim to do with Makkah al-Mukarramah. One of the design plans that they have for Makkah al-Mukarramah.